Hi, I'm Jocelyn Dimaya with the Local Artistry, and this is a day in the life of a designer. I'm currently getting ready for my block printing workshop. So I have 7 individuals who are going to come and I'm going to teach them how to block print. So with block printing, we take a block like this one and you're going to take a cutting tool and carve out a design. So it's a matter of drawing a design, transferring it to your block, carving it out, and then we'll put ink on it and put it onto a piece of paper or fabric. What I love about block printing as opposed to screen printing is that it's a little less uniform. So if I were to take a screen, create a design on it, and pull ink over it, you're gonna get like nearly identical print every time. There can still be variations, but with the block printing, it also has to deal with the pressure that you put on your hand. It also has to deal with the material that you are printing on. And so that's what I really like about block printing. For example, I block printed a bunch of pockets on some t-shirts and all of them look different. So I do get to give a one-of-a-kind product to everyone. No, I've owned a business since I was 8 years old. I'm just kidding. No, definitely not. Before pursuing art and creative pursuits as a career, I did a lot of childcare. I nannied growing up. While I was in college, I was a nanny for a few different families. But other than that, I graduated from college and I jumped into it. I didn't have the intention of working for myself, but as I was figuring out what my next steps were, I realized that I was supporting myself and I was creating an income by creating work and sharing that with others. I know that schooling helped me so much in what I do. So I went to CalArts, where I studied costume design, and while I think everybody in college has moments of, oh gosh, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what I want? I think learning how I learn and learning how I view the world and letting my worldview shape how I interact with the world really impacted what I do now. Like through going to college and pursuing arts, I knew it was something that I cared about, or else I wouldn't have invested the time and money to go to art school. I knew that through meeting other people and making friends that were creatives and artists, that was something that totally fueled me and fired me up and got me excited, and I wanted to continue to be around those people and working with other artists and creatives. I think generally I'm a pretty risky person, but of course I had fears. I had so many fears, I still have fears. And I think a lot of that is, we often have fraudy feelings or self-doubt. We question ourselves, and it comes from, I think a lot of the times it comes from not pausing and stepping back and going, what are my accomplishments? What have I done really well? What am I excited about? What can I be proud of myself for? Because when we stop more often to think of those things, I think it's easier to overcome the fear. But I mean, I constantly fear that I'm not gonna make enough money. And that's just a matter of paying my bills. Like, I'm not trying to make a ton, I'm not, of course, I mean, it'd be nice to make a ton of money, but for me, I just wanna know that I can support my lifestyle and do what I love every day. But, we always have self-doubts and we think, am I not good enough? Is this for me? Should I be doing this? Can I really work for myself? And now that I've been doing it for almost 2 years, I am still reminding myself, but it's definitely been kind of solidified for me that, yeah, I'm probably gonna work for myself for the rest of my life. What is a rookie mistake? As much as I love doing this, I love working and creating, I never want that to be put before my well-being. There were times where I just didn't sleep enough because I was like, I have to work, I have to create things. And in the end, that's really not helping me, and I'm only doing a disservice to myself. but also like for my heart, taking care of my relationships, like my family and the people closest with me, and never letting your entrepreneurial spirit stop you from taking care of the things that really matter. So yeah, I would just say rookie mistake is not having the proper priorities. So make sure you check yourself. When I first moved back to Bakersfield, my biggest inspiration was probably the architecture. People don't necessarily think of architecture when they come to Bakersfield, but for me, that was my biggest inspiration to start creating work. I literally walked around downtown and found cool buildings and decided to paint them. I found weird like walls and alleys and streets and signs. I looked at those things and I thought like, wow, like this is all art, this is all creation, and it's beautiful and it's fun and it's different and it's unique. And so I think that was like one of my biggest inspirations, and now that I've been here a bit longer, it's definitely the people. It's definitely the relationships with so many other creatives and artists that I find so much of my inspiration from. In January of 2018, my best friend and business partner, Amanda Schaefer, and I started an organization called Kern Creatives. It started off as a series of events. Like we were doing 2 events a month to start, where we brought people together. The idea was networking events are boring, so let's do something fun. And if we could get a bunch of people in the same room, we could then create something and collaborate right then and there. And it wasn't about making a masterpiece, but it was about building relationships. Because then if we have a bunch of artists who then know each other and who have relationships, well then they're gonna wanna work together in the future. They're gonna wanna make bigger, better work. They're gonna be inspired by each other. But it doesn't happen just because you see somebody on Instagram. Like if I don't know somebody, I'm not gonna have that true connection. So it was really about building friendships, is kind of how it started, through the arts. And since it's evolved a bunch over the last year, and right now we're kind of at the point where we're doing an annual large artist showcase. Our last one was in March, and we had over 50 local artists get to share their work, which was super cool. We had over 50 children between the ages of like 1 and 12 share their work. We had a bunch of creative vendors, and over 600 people were in attendance. So it was just really cool to share and celebrate all of the art that was in Bakersfield, because it is diverse. Like our people are diverse, but also their mediums are diverse. So we had visual artists, it wasn't just a bunch of painters, we had photographers, and we had glass blowers, and we had collage artists and sculpturists. And so getting to see that, and then also have performing artists like spoken word and rappers and singer-songwriters and bands, and then also to have a screening room for filmmakers. So it was super cool to celebrate that with the community. Sometimes I wear the pieces that I make. I feel like it kind of goes in seasons. Sometimes I'm creating a lot of clothes, and sometimes I'm stepping away from the sewing machine and I'm doing another art form. So kind of depending on the season, and sometimes I'll wear something over and over and over again every week, and then I'm like, oh, I feel like I've worn that out. Maybe I'll give that away to somebody, or maybe I'll figure out a new way to style it later. When I first started my business, it was my paintings and the clothing that I made, and all the clothing was one of a kind. Probably about 6 months ago, I just said, I made an Instagram TV, like an IGTV video, and I said, you guys, I'm done making clothing. It's not part of my business model anymore, because it's something that truly brings me joy, but I was trying to make it work. I was trying to make it a business. I was trying to attach dollar signs to it. And that was really difficult for me, and it was really emotional and really hard. I felt like I couldn't charge as much as I knew things were worth for how much money I spent on them and how much time I spent on them. So for me, it just wasn't feasible anymore, but it still is fun to walk into a local business and see somebody wearing something that I've made, because there are still pieces out there. I remember I got a text message about a year ago saying, I walked into the store and I spotted someone, and I was like, is that Jocelyn Shares? And it's just so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. It was recognized, what? So those moments still happen, and they definitely bring me a lot of joy. But I think one of the biggest things that I've learned as a business owner is that I need to do what works and what makes me happy, and sometimes blending the thing that you love most with work isn't what you want to do with it. For anyone who would like to start a business, I would first off just say invest. Invest in yourself, and that looks different for everybody. That might mean if you're trying to pursue photography and you don't have a camera, it might mean saving up to get yourself a camera. For me, it was getting the studio space. It was saying, okay, this is what's gonna keep me accountable, because you kind of need to just jump. You just need to do it. If you keep talking about it but you never make any big moves, probably won't happen. Or not to say it couldn't ever happen, but it's very unlikely. Like, you have to invest in yourself and believe that it's gonna happen in order for anything to really start. So sometimes that looks like planning an event and maybe 2 people show up. And then you plan the event again because you're gonna keep showing up. Like, you also have to be willing to show up whether everybody loves what you're doing or you're still trying to build that traction and get people to know who you are. And you also can't start a business and expect everybody to love you and want you. You have to keep working at it. You've got to put yourself out there and it will come. Well, the latest thing for Jocelyn Shares has been farmers market. It was something that it wasn't really on my radar, so I've done 2 weeks of farmers market now, and I've always loved going as a shopper, but I hadn't gone to be a vendor. But one thing that's also really important to me is the earth and sustainability and ethical living practices. And so for Earth Day, I decided that I wanted to make a bunch of reusable goods to help people cut down on their plastic. I was like, this will be my part for the earth. I actually made a bunch of sales, and I made a bunch of friends, and it was really fun, and getting to be in a setting where a lot of people show up. I was able to meet a ton of people offline that I only knew through Instagram, so that was also really fun. So right now, that's still kind of what's new. I'm creating more products than I had ever made, so things like bulk bags and cloth napkins and produce bags, and really just trying to help the earth. So that's currently what I'm doing. You can find me on social media at Jocelyn Shares. You can also check out the 2 other platforms that I'm partners on, which are Sew at the Studio or Current Creatives.